Hey everybody, and welcome back finally to this next episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Anxious. So I am Rebecca, and I'm here to document my journey to bariatric surgery and now beyond. I had the vertical sleeve gastrectomy through Blossom Bariatrics on January 16th, 2021, and they're located in Vegas. My stats are down below, as well as some links to them and to my Instagram and stuff like that, if you're interested. So I'm currently just over 5 months post-op, I believe. And yeah. So this video right today is going to be, I want to discuss kind of a plethora of things, but mostly I want to discuss like our relationship with our bodies and my relationship with my body and how that is affected by bariatric surgery and how it's affected me. So, basically my relationship with my body has not been good. That's putting it lightly and putting it mildly. Basically it started, I mean, we all kind of have, I feel like, a good relationship with our bodies when we're young, and then at some point that just kind of gets fucked up. So when I was very young, I was sexually abused by a family member when I was about 4. And that messed with my relationship with my body. And then when I hit puberty and things started changing for me, I think that is really when my relationship kind of started to like crumble, because at that point it didn't have a very good foundation to sit on in the first place. And unfortunately, I wasn't really taught to love or care for myself. So hit puberty, I began developing disordered eating. And then you combine that with the horrible, toxic diet culture of the 90s and 2000s, and you basically have a recipe for disaster. So I spent the next 20 plus years, pretty much treating my body like crap. I developed a full-blown eating disorder, which I've spoken about in previous videos. I stopped going to the doctor regularly. I still hate the dentist with a fiery passion. And I just kind of stopped taking care of myself and taking care of my body. And honestly, it was a form of self-destruction. It was a way to like punish myself for existing in my body. Like it was messed up. And I also began using exercise and food as a way to punish myself. I would, over-exercise, overeat, undereat, restrict, binge. And then I also used drugs and alcohol. I was addicted to some substances for many years. And I've been, I guess, clean and sober. I do drink still on occasion, but I drink very rarely, like once a year I have a drink. So I guess you could say I'm mostly clean and sober since for the last about 7 years or so now. So, basically I was on a long path towards self-destruction. And for years I felt trapped and lost within my own body. And the harder and harder I tried to lose weight, the more I punished my body more and more. Like, the more my body wouldn't cooperate, because if you treat your body like shit, it's not going to do what you want it to do. So I began treating myself even more like shit and treating my body and punishing my body more for not doing what it was supposed to do. And then of course it wouldn't do what it was supposed to do. And it was a vicious cycle that just went round and round. And honestly, it wasn't, I mean, if you see my previous videos, then you've seen that my like bottom, like rock bottom, was when I got into a kayak. But honestly, like the thing that kind of flicked the switch fully for me and made me get this surgery was when I was diagnosed with an eating disorder last May. So it's been just over a year now. And when that happened, it was kind of like, shit, like this is really bad. I've been working on all this trauma. I've been working really hard to like fix these things, but clearly like my relationship with food and my relationship with my body is terrible. And that was when I realized I just really had to do something, and I couldn't keep living the rest of my life hating my body and hating myself, and treating it like crap. Like that's not going to get me where I want to go. It's not going to get me the life that I want to live. So a few months later, I made the choice to get bariatric surgery. So here we are. And this surgery really is the ultimate act of self-love. I know I've said that, I think, in previous videos, and I've definitely said it on my Instagram a couple different times, but really, like, that's what this is. You're choosing to love yourself finally and do something to take care of yourself. And this is fucking drastic. This isn't an easy thing. So it's a big deal. But after surgery, I have to say I still have been struggling kind of on and off with taking care of and trusting my body. It's not that I don't love my body now. I really feel like I'm working my way towards that. Every single day I'm working towards that. But I feel like I have my moments where I really just don't trust it, and I'm still lost and confused. So yeah, I mean, I think basically a lot of what it is too is for example, when I exercise, that's a big one for me. And that's a lot of what this video is going to be about, actually, is about exercising and kind of what that's been for me. And that relates to my body, you know, my relationship with my body. But when I exercise, I'm an all or nothing person, usually. I'm very black and white thinker. I definitely have basically only an on and off switch. I don't have anything in between. And so basically when I work out, I'm working out usually as hard as I fucking can, balls to the walls, you know, as hard as I can, or like I'm, you know, not working out at all and being lazy. So yeah, there should be a slider instead of like an on-off switch. Like I should have something in between. I should have a balance of like not killing my body. But before surgery, that's all I knew how to do. That's all I'd ever been taught by everybody in the whole world, was you have to work out as hard as you fucking can. And if you're not dying basically by the end of it, then have you really worked out? Was it really very good? You know, like that's kind of what my mentality has always been about exercise and about my body. It's like I have to push my body to the limit. So I've kind of struggled to pull apart the idea of like what toxic diet culture tells us, you know, about punishing our bodies and hating our bodies because they're not perfect, and like, you know, what we really should do, which is love and care for our bodies. I couldn't distinguish between laziness and self-care either. Like if I didn't work out, or I didn't work out super hard to where I felt like I was dying afterwards, then was I being lazy? And the truth is no, I'm not. So I've struggled to kind of pull those two pieces apart and separate them. But my previous approach is not working post-op. I can't go balls to the walls all the time. I feel like shit. You can't expect after surgery for your body to be able to go from 0 to 60 like maybe it could before surgery. It's just we're still healing even 5 months out, still learning how to like exist within the confines of this new world of post-bariatric surgery. Like it's, yeah, what I did before surgery wasn't working. So when I started working out after surgery, I pretty much kept telling myself, okay, Rebecca, we're just going to go slow. We're just going to go slow. And so at first I just started out with walking, but I'm a super competitive person and I'm very competitive with myself. And so of course, after a few weeks, I found myself like walking farther and farther and farther, and it was like, and faster and faster. And it was in and of itself, it's not necessarily a bad thing to be walking farther and faster, but it definitely like became that similar thing for me. It was like, okay, how far can I go today before dying, before collapsing on the ground, basically. And so it also caused me some pain too. I developed middle back pain. I still have it, actually, but it's been getting a little bit better. And I strained my foot twice. So like it's not necessarily a good thing to be able to do that, you know? Basically you have to start slow. So I was going too fast. So I switched gears and I thought, well, let's start lifting weights and maybe I'll be stronger and that'll be better. So I started with 5-pound weights. I did start slow, or what I thought was slow, but basically as soon as I started to see some real gains, like I started to see myself, like I am still using 5-pound weights because, you know, reasons, but essentially like as soon as I started seeing that I could lift, like do more reps for longer, I started noticing that I like felt stronger. Of course I pushed it and I continued to push it, until basically I would come in after lifting weights and collapse. I think one time I went out and I lifted weights and I came in and I was supposed to do something and I immediately went and lay down in my bedroom for like an hour because I just couldn't move. I couldn't exist. So right around then that was a couple months ago, and that was right around when I was diagnosed with something called benign proximal positional vertigo, BPPV. Basically, it's just vertigo, and it's vertigo that specifically happens when you go from like standing to sitting, or you bend over and you stand up, or if I crouch down and then stand up quickly. And it sucked because I would get dizzy at the end of my lifting sessions. I would get dizzy during lifting sessions. I would get dizzy anytime like we're trying to build, I'm putting this way because right behind the camera is a window, but we're trying to build a shed in our backyard, and basically like I couldn't even bend over to hammer in some nails. Like it was that bad. And that pretty much just made this like frustration with my body grow and grow as I kept having what I felt like were these setbacks every time I tried to exercise and tried to work out and tried to do what I did before surgery, which is go balls to the walls. So I finally like backed off a little bit, and I really felt like I was backtracking. I felt like I was failing somehow, but that's what diet culture tells you. That's not true. I actually needed to listen to my body. So if you saw my last video, then you'll know, how, you know, listening to my body went. Basically I, you know, didn't properly fuel, didn't properly hydrate or listen to my body while I was on a hike. And I also took pre-workout that I had never taken before and basically almost landed myself in the ER. Since then, I've been really trying to focus on my body, focus on the cues that it's giving me, which is really tough when you've never done that before, when you've never actually paid attention to your body and the cues that it's giving you. And I've been trying to fuel properly before workouts, trying to be present in my body while I'm working out. I've been meditating a little bit more. Basically, exercise post-surgery is not an easy thing. It's a balancing act, and we have to kind of constantly adjust and manage. What worked one time might not work the next time, you know, and I've also learned that carbohydrates are not your enemy. So I know that many of us who have gone to Blossom or going to Blossom, and if you've read the booklet, then you will know, we're told to stay basically pretty low carb, under 50 grams of carbs daily. This is great advice, and I do it for the most part. In my next video, I'll talk a little bit about what I eat and how I eat. But pretty much, like, I feel like this advice isn't 100% true, especially if you're super, super active. If you're like me, I lift weights, I swim, I walk, I hike. You know, I try to be as active as I possibly can throughout the week. Then eating really, really low carb isn't great, and honestly should be reserved for rest days. So on the days that I work out, you know, if I know that I'm going to work out really hard, then I eat a little bit more carbs that day, and it doesn't stall me, okay? I think that there's a little bit of fear about, you know, if you eat higher carbohydrates, then, oh my God, you're gonna stall. But the truth is, no, you're not, especially not if you're active. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, so don't take my word for it, but I do believe that we need to listen to our bodies, and if my body keeps telling me every time I work out that I'm so exhausted I can't do it, then I need to up my carbohydrates, because our bodies burn carbohydrate. That's quick energy. That's what you do use when you're exercising. And if you have no carbohydrates in your diet, then your it doesn't burn fat very efficiently. So you kind of burn out quick, like a little candle flame, just out. So if I know that I'm going to like walk a bunch, I might have some nut butter before I go on a walk. If I'm going to be hiking, like I carry granola bars with me, and I carry like nuts and jerky and stuff in my bag, but I'll also maybe have like a piece of fruit with some nut butter beforehand, or, some, granola, or, some oatmeal or something like that. Nothing I try to stick to like complex carbs. Obviously fruit, Blossom tells us to stay away from fruit for the first 6 months, but I have like half an apple once every couple weeks, and that seems fine. Nope, no problems. Still losing weight, no problems. Or I have a handful of berries every now and then. It's not a problem. I think that the point is to not introduce a bunch of sugar back into your diet until you have really gotten into a routine of eating low carb and keeping yourself, losing weight. But I guess long story short, you gotta listen to your body. If your body is telling you it needs some fuel, then give it some fuel. Don't be afraid to fuel it. And then I also now carry like a Camelback with me when I walk or I go hiking, just to make sure that I'm constantly drinking. And I also have water on the side of the pool, so I make sure I'm constantly drinking as I'm sweating, and staying hydrated. And if my body gives me the signs that it's done, then that's when I say, okay, I'm done. So it's been a massive, massive learning process. And I think that exercise after surgery is not a simple thing. And you have to ease into it, and you have to take it day by day, and you have to listen to your body. But if I've learned anything from this surgery and this journey, it's that there is no one way up the mountain. Okay. There is no success in a straight line, and not everybody's journey is going to be the same. There are going to be ups and downs. I'm going to struggle. And despite being over 5 months out, my body is still healing. And besides, there's still so much constant change, like week to week. Your body is so different that like your body's struggling to adjust. So you have to learn, and this is something I'm working on, is to give yourself, more care, more time, more compassion than I ever have done before. And it feels very foreign and weird, but it's so important. Basically I just need to learn to relax, refocus, do some mindfulness, do some meditation, be present in my body. If I'm too sore or I'm dizzy or whatever, that means I need to take a break. I don't need to force my body to work out because that's what diet culture has told me I have to do. I want to work out for the joy of working out, for the joy of moving my body. And I don't want to work out because I have to, or because somebody told me I'm supposed to. I want to work out because I enjoy it, which is what I've been trying to do. Which is why I've also been varying my workouts so much. So progress is not perfection. I'm still working towards my goals, even by choosing to listen to my body and choosing to take days off and rest. And listening to my body and taking that time is not being lazy. And that's something that's been a tough lesson to learn. But yeah, if I don't take care of this body, this is the only one I get, right? So, all right, so that's it for today. Basically, if you're struggling, maybe take a second look at your body and your relationship with it and how you're treating it. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below if you want to keep following my journey. And thank you and take care.